I asked 1,000 AI agency owners how they're signing clients, and in this video, I'm going to show you all of them. So instead of me just telling you guys how to sign clients, I actually wanted to show you ways that people across all my communities, Maker School and Make Money with Make, are signing clients today. So what I did is I just took a bunch of screenshots of wins posts. These are posts where people basically say, hey, I made all this money, here's how I did it. And then I'm just going to run you guys through a bunch of them. And then afterwards, we're actually going to go into a structured guide on how to go about actually acquiring clients on those platforms. Obviously, the first being Upwork, because that's something a lot of people are having success with. This lovely fella closed $4,300 in his first 12 days in the community. I should note that you don't have to be in my community to do it. He did 3 things: Upwork connects, school communities, and then cold DMs because his emails are still warming up. This lovely human being signed an $8,000 monthly retainer, just sending a proposal on Upwork and then getting a reply in 5 minutes. This fella did $11,000 this month, mostly through Upwork. This fella right over here, I believe, did a warm network reactivation, which I'll talk about in a second. And now he's partnering with a $1.3 million in revenue business. This person did 80% of these 13 appointments, so I want to say 10 or so in a week through cold email, and now his calendar is all booked up. This fella signed a client for a 3-month retainer, which is fantastic. This ended up being a warm reactivation. This fella here signed a bunch of deals through cold email, so 2 $2,000 setup deals with $297 a month each. This fella over here actually works in, I guess he was a barber or he works in the barbering industry, and he reactivated some of his network. And this fella here has generated 682 opportunities in 2 weeks for a client. I'm including this one just in my screenshot because he did it primarily with cold email, and the response rates weren't even that insane. It's 3.2 and 5.2, just to show you guys that you can actually generate like $1 million in pipeline in a week or two if you're smart about how you want to do it. Okay, so now that I'm done with all the social proof stuff, like why am I front loading this? Because I find that a big chunk of the reason why people don't succeed in this industry and basically most others is just because they have some limiting beliefs surrounding whether or not this is even possible. Like, believe it for me, this is entirely possible. There are thousands of people around the world doing this sort of stuff as we speak. And odds are, if you have these limiting beliefs, you probably grew up in an environment where people were not winning like this. So all it really takes in order to do so is just to shift that thing in your brain. Human beings are consensus animals. So if you just surround yourself with a bunch of people that are constantly winning, you'll start thinking that winning is easy to do as well. Now that I've gone past that little philosophical tangent, let's cover the actual lead generation methods in kind, shall we? So the first one is Upwork. Now, I received a lot of flack about Upwork when I first started this stuff because most people were like, Upwork's a freelancing platform. Like, you can't make money selling any sort of service on Upwork sustainably or scalably. And I actually think there's some merit to that. I don't really think you could make like $1 million a year using Upwork, but the vast majority of people that are currently watching this video, their problem isn't making it to $1 million a year. The problem is making like their first $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month. And Upwork is definitely sufficient, if not overkill, for a $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month business. So this lovely human being over here tried for many, many years, and they never managed to make a single dollar until day 3 of my community maker school, where I basically force people to send a certain number of Upwork applications. Then they make €1,000 with a €500 retainer. So it's $4,000 on less than 15 euro spend in connects. It's an ROI over 250x. This person says it's insanity. That's great. This lovely fella here did $7,492 in 9 days. So that was pretty cool. They get a little screenshot here of the Upwork system. This person over here legitimately closed their first client while they were juggling a 9-to-5 and their kids, okay? So you don't actually need to like submit an insane number of applications to do so. That person did this while juggling just a bunch of life demands. So now that I've, again, proven this to you, this is by far the most popular acquisition method for total beginners right now. And the main reason why, if I could just make a long story short, Upwork is a freelancing platform where basically clients that have money in their hands and are ready to pay for something will actually go and they'll create a post like this, seeking copywriters. Then they'll attach a budget to it. And then basically a bunch of people will bid on that job using their Upwork profiles to see, essentially maximize the probability that they can fill their need. Upwork will rank you sort of like a search engine algorithm based on various things like how many fields of your profile have been filled out, the keywords on your profile versus the keywords in the job. And then now they have this boosting feature as well. So let me run you through kind of like the idea behind Upwork and how to make money on this platform. So first of all, it's the most popular acquisition method by far. And the reason why is because Upwork's actually kind of simple. So most people struggle with sales, okay? And the reason why is because sales is hard. And if you've never sold anything on the internet before, basically, just so we're all on the same page, you have to do a lot of stuff in order to get somebody to the point where they say yes. First of all, you have to define what the problem is. that the customer is facing, and then you have to convince them that they're actually experiencing a problem. The second thing you have to do is you have to show them a solution that solves that problem and then convince them that that solution is the right solution for them. And then third, now that they know what the solution is, there's a million service providers. What you have to do is you have to convince them that you are the right person to provide that service. So this is actually like 3 separate problems, and they're very, very difficult problems. Most beginners suck at this. They definitely suck at that, and they're pretty like mid at that. What's cool about Upwork is Upwork actually just eliminates the first 2. Like if somebody's posting a job on Upwork, you can kind of think of it conceptually as like they already know the problem that they're struggling from. Okay, so that's done. They already kind of understand the solution, not all the time, but like a big chunk of it. So that's done. So really the only thing you actually have to do here is you just have to convince them that you're the better person than the other 50 people that are applying. And say what you will about competitiveness and stuff like that. This is still usually much easier to do than if you were to actually like try doing the entire sales stack, kind of 0 to 1, right? So this is what I recommend for beginners, because then you just get to focus on one problem at a time. The problem that you focus on is standing out. Once you've dealt with the standing out problem, then you can level up to different lead generation methods and then start, dealing with solutions and then start dealing with problems. It's more of a natural progression, I would say. Okay, so the way that this basically works is if you are very good at sending high quality and super customized proposals to a job post on Upwork, you can get about 30% proposal to reply rate. Now, I will say that this is like a good case scenario. On average, most of the people in Maker School are about 20%. And then obviously some people that are total beginners and have no idea how to pitch themselves and stuff like that, they're closer to 10%. But basically, you're going to be somewhere in this realm. What that means is, if you send, let's just say 4 to 5 Upwork apps, you are already at the point where statistically, you're going to be having a conversation with a real person that might actually want to buy a product or service. There's basically no simpler way of doing this. Now, obviously, in exchange for this level of ease, what you have to do is you have to pay them a little bit of money. I mean, Upwork is a business at the end of the day, right? So what you do is every time you make an application, you pay like $1.50, $2.50. It depends on how much you bid, essentially. The value in this, though, is, compared to a lot of the other methods that I'm going to talk about here, if you were to sign up to cold email or something, basically immediately, the second that you sign up, all of a sudden, you have to spend $90, okay? And maybe it takes you like, a week or something to see results for that. Meaning that there's this like kind of weird gray zone in between where like you make no money and you're out a ton, right? With Upwork, it's a lot more, I want to say, dripped out over time. Like you'll spend a little bit of money today, spend a little bit of money tomorrow, you'll spend a little bit of money the next day, you'll spend a little bit of money the next day, just because those applications basically amortize the cost. They distribute the cost, the capital outlay over time, which is really helpful for beginners. Okay, so that's another reason. And then, just in terms of strategy, let's actually talk about how to do it. Basically, my recommendation is to start with smaller projects to build reviews on your profile. Then you just start scaling pricing, literally go up like 30% every single time you win a job, and then just rinse and repeat. There are a lot of success factors, but I'm just going to run you guys through a really quick and easy look at what this actually looks like. So I've made a fair amount of money on Upwork, just in terms of like my verified Upwork earnings, aka the Upwork earnings that are verified on this platform. It's almost $500,000 at this point. So I've learned a thing or two about how to pitch Upwork and how to build a good profile. So the most important parts of an Upwork profile basically are this little green bubble over here, and this just shows that you're online for messages. Obviously, having a nice profile pic is important, having like a verified badge, and then having some expert vetted and 100% job success scores as well. The thing is, as beginners, you guys aren't going to have this, right? You're also not going to have total earnings, number of jobs, or total hours. So what my recommendation is for people that are just starting is focus on a simple title that just describes what you do. So AI automation, AI process engineering, AI development. Okay, focus on a non-standard hourly rate. Don't just put like $100 an hour here or something. Put like $59.33. The idea is there's a million people at $100 an hour, right? Like what makes that person worth $100 an hour, not $99 an hour, $101 an hour? Well, the reality is nothing. They just found a number they liked and ran with it. I like to be a little bit more intentional about the hourly rates that I provide, and I find that also just makes people kind of stop and stare and be like, I wonder why Nick's charging $52.50. Then this section right over here, instead of trying to convince somebody through words why you're great, the best thing to do is to show them through actions. So instead of saying, hey, I'm an amazing AI automation engineer, AI developer, PPC marketer, SEO, SEM engineer, whatever the hell you're providing as a service, instead of trying to convince them of that, just show them. Keep everything super simple and then just say, hey, here's all the cool money and cool accomplishments that I've done. So in my case, my work has over 50 million reads. This is for a freelance writing profile. I write a newsletter read by the founder of HubSpot that has a 37 bill market cap. I've worked with all these world-renowned brands. These are things that I've done. They're not necessarily me trying to, write the most compelling case as to why you might want to work with me. Basically, I just show them my quality and I let them kind of make their decisions about it after. From there, you just want to fill out all the fields. So add a video, add some languages, add your education if you can. Okay, add some portfolios. I have some kind of cringe-worthy portfolios that I honestly haven't tried changing or haven't needed to change in a while. Add a bunch of skills, add a project catalog. Literally just go through and fill out everything that you can. This is a big list of testimonials from people. Here's some certifications, here's employment history. Okay, Upwork isn't really that difficult, if I'm being honest. The main issue that I think most people have with it is they just don't really understand the problem that they're solving. And again, the problem you're solving is you're not trying to convince anybody that, AI automation is great or that, your solutions are incredible. All you're really trying to do is show them why you're different from other people. And the best way to do that is just like show them a ton of social proof. Hey, I've worked with insert big name here. I've delivered insert big project here. Hey, I'm associated with insert big thing here. Does everybody that's watching this have those associations? No. But if you dig through all of your corporate experience, odds are you'll probably have a little bit more than you probably think, if that makes sense. What's impressive to other people might not necessarily be what you think is impressive to you, if that makes sense. Big method number 2 is obviously cold email. This is the highest ROI of all the methods. So we had somebody hit $10,000 a month with cold email. Pretty nuts. They sold a $4,200 project to a SaaS company, tech platform, $5,000 deal, software consulting biz, $2,000 or $4,000 deal, I should say, and then a $3,000 deal for hospitality. Now it's time to deliver them. This person over here did a $1,500 deal from cold email. It was their first deal ever. They actually even give you some of the copy that they were using, which is very gracious of them. Let me run you through what cold email is like. So as of right now, this is the number 2 most popular client acquisition method. It's also way higher ROI than Upwork because this is just a lot more scalable. When it was the case of Upwork, time and effort were basically pretty related, right? Like in order to scale, what you need to do is you need to send really high quality applications. So every unit of time was approximately equivalent to the amount of effort that you would put in. Like if you could do one Upwork application every 5 minutes, well then, if you do 50 minutes, you could do 10. If you do 100 minutes, you could do 20, and so on and so on and so forth, right? Well, cold email is a little bit different. Basically, what you do is you actually just provide a ton of effort initially. And then over time, you get to provide less and less and less effort because most of the effort that you're doing at the beginning is actually just setting up campaigns. And then once you actually, set up the campaigns, all you really have to do after that is just reply to emails and then, get people on calls. So I guess what I'm trying to say is the amount of effort that you provide over time actually goes way down. And then also concomitantly, the amount of money that you have to spend in order to keep something like this going, whether it's money that is time that you're spending that we're converting into money in this hypothetical scenario, or maybe money that you're giving to somebody to set all this stuff up for you, all that stuff just goes down, which is pretty valuable. So it's the highest ROI of all methods. You can book meetings for very, very little money. And there are a variety of success factors. There are also a variety of kind of gotchas that I'm going to walk you through, and then some pitfalls as well. But basically, the way that all this stuff works is you get a lead source, like Apollo, okay? And then what you do is you scrape it using a service like Appify. Then you enrich it using a service like Lead Magic. And now what you have is you have a big spreadsheet. This is a massive spreadsheet of name, email, I don't know, favorite type of hot dog, whatever. You get a ton of personal information about the person, okay? And then what you do is you take all of this stuff and you actually feed this into AI. Then you know what AI does? AI thinks for a little bit and then comes up with a customized one-line icebreaker, which allows you to pitch this person and basically, make it seem like you're not actually sending totally cold emails. And then what you do is you set up a bunch of Google Workspace mailboxes or equivalent, and then you combine it with a platform like Instantly, which is by far the gold standard platform as of the time of this recording anyway, which allows you to then take all those mailboxes, set up scalable infrastructure, and then all you do is you just pump all those leads into Instantly using a sequence and then send out hundreds of emails a day, okay? So in a nutshell, that's more or less what it looks like. After you're done and kind of up and running, let me just log into a pre-existing campaign that I created specifically for YouTube. You'll end up with a dashboard that looks something like this. So this is a campaign that I ran for videography, for instance. If I go to my sequences here, you'll see, if I zoom out a bit, that this is an actual email that I'm sending to people. I say, icebreaker, hey, I'm new to this, but I put something interesting together a few months ago that works well. To make a long story short, it's an outreach system that uses AI to find people doing blah, 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 blah. I know this is out of left field, but I think I could do something similar for you. Just wanted to see if there was interest. You're one of the first people I found when looking into it. Would this be of value to it all? Okay, the reason I'm showing you guys this is because this is actually the thing that works. You write emails, you make them seem really customized, and then you just say, hey man, this might be totally random, but here's a bunch of cool stuff that I do, and I think I could make you some money. Do you want to sit down and hash out a plan to actually get this done? You don't say, dear salutations, I am currently selling a 5-star package that is on a discount for only, you don't do any of that stuff. You don't make it like a TV ad. You just try and make it seem like you're sitting down next to some dude at the bar and you're like, hey man, I know this is totally random, but do you work at XYZ company? No way, that's crazy. I think I could help you. Once you're done with all that, You iterate the campaigns, you change the messaging slightly using Instantly and other email platforms built-in split testing, and then you just make them better and better and better over time. Now, there's a capital cost to this for sure. And if you guys want to see exactly what that process looks like, definitely check out my Watch Me Start and Sell an AI Service in 10 Hours video. I walk you through getting a cold email campaign up and running, then actually generating interested leads in my offers in just a few hours. Okay, big way that people are generating leads. Number 3 is communities, okay? Now, to make a long story short, what communities are, they're basically communities like School, or communities like my own Maker School, which is hosted on School. Now, communities are very simple. Basically, they're like social media platforms, but they're like niche, simple social media platforms where you join a group that is specific to one thing. You can kind of think of it as like joining like a Facebook group or something, right? Instead of blasting out your post in the entire wider internet, you're blasting out your post to like a subset of people that have specifically said that they're interested in this thing. And what is the thing in our case? It's usually like a niche that we're targeting. So like if I'm targeting videography, I join a bunch of videography communities, for instance. Okay. So this lovely fella signed 4 new clients in October. And the way that they did it, actually, I believe this is a woman that signed 4 new clients in October. The way that she did it was she leveraged communities. She simply shared her demos in Facebook groups, which brought in 3 clients. And then her last one came in through Upwork. Now that occurred in 1 month. Okay. Absolutely insane. There's no AI cold calling here. There's no crazy scaling cold email campaigns. It's literally this woman just sitting down and saying, hey, I'm just going to make a post. But instead of blasting it out to the entire internet, I'm going to blast it out to a group of people that specifically suffer from the problems that my post is going to solve. This person over here made their first post in a brand new community. And then they ended up getting a ton of comments, likes. A bunch of people are asking them if they can implement make.com, in their processes. Even the group admin actually sent them a DM asking them, hey, can we work together? So this sort of stuff works. The thing is, it just scales with your time, kind of like Upwork, a little more manually, okay? So I want to say from a return on investment perspective, from like a sheer money perspective, probably not as high ROI as cold email. But if you're like broke, you have no money, but you still want to get up and running with this, communities are an awesome way to do it. Okay, so the benefit to this is it builds trust before the sales conversations begin. Because it's a social media group and it's very insular and it's very closed, you tend to like gain authority, reputation, and renown in this group if you do it right. If you play it off as like, hey, I'm in this industry and I'm just sharing the problems that I'm suffering from, and I'm just interested to see if anybody else might be interested in solving them as well, then you end up being like part of the in-group of the community and not necessarily somebody that's on the outside, like a wolf peering at their prey. Right? You're actually like part of their team and people trust you a lot more. What does that do? That leads to much higher close rates naturally. So there are a couple of gotchas here. The big thing is really you need patience. The best results from this stuff take a while. They might take like 2 to 3 months to become an authority of the group, okay? If you can interact with people in the group, if you can treat this kind of more like networking just digitally as opposed to some sort of hard sales, you're going to do a lot better. But as a result, you're going to have a massive network of people that you could sell not only this stuff to, but anybody else in the future. Some success factors here, you need to be consistently providing value. You need to be solving real problems publicly. If you're promoting, don't do it overtly, do it extraordinarily subtly. You kind of need to have a little bit of social acuity. You need to know how to like warm pitch people, not just like cold pitch people. And really, the big thing that I didn't mention here is you just need to show up every day. Like if you just show up every day for a long time, then even if you are the most boring, lame person that offers like basically no value, people begin to like you because human beings are slaves to familiarity, mere exposure effect, right? Like the more that you just show up in a group consistently over time and just make your presence known, the more people will recognize you and be more likely to interact with your posts. Okay. So how do you actually get up and running with something like this? Well, you could join a community like mine, Maker School. Obviously, my community is sort of like unique insofar that we're the number 2 on School right now, and we're super engaged, and not all communities are going to be like this. But realistically, what else you could do is you could go to school.com/discovery over here, and then you could just type in like your niche. So maybe I'm targeting videography people or something. What you do then is you just join a bunch of communities like wedding creators, a place for wedding creatives to boost their business or start from scratch. The 10K a month videographer, wedding filmmaker worldwide. You'll notice some of these cost a pretty penny. So you can pay money to sign up to a community, but I do find that that kind of defeats the purpose for most people. That said, paid communities are much more engaged. But full-time creator, wedding filmmaker academy, wealthy filmmakers, right? I mean, there's like tons of these groups. And notice how the member sizes are pretty small. There's 200 people here, 100 people here, there's 2,100 people here, there's 800 people here. This is not a lot of people. But the benefit to this is you actually end up being like one of the few people that are consistently engaged. And so it's very easy for you to get exposure consistently to like 800 people that are suffering from your exact problem. I can't really overstate how valuable this is and how much money you could make if you just end up being the person to go to for a particular problem in one of these communities. All right. So obviously a lot of money that you can make there as long as you show up every day. Okay, another way people are closing deals is social media content. All right. What do I mean by social media content? Well, right now, I mostly mean LinkedIn, although obviously people are succeeding all over the map. Just in terms of what I'm seeing the most frequency with, it's LinkedIn. And when this works best as a complementary strategy rather than the primary approach, I don't actually recommend, if you're like a total beginner and you've never made any money with this, or maybe just, online businesses in general, for you just to like go on your Facebook and start blasting stuff out. And it's for the same reason that communities work really well, because your Facebook is probably really big and there are probably like a lot of people on there, but not all of them are suffering from your problem. If you're going to be doing that sort of approach, just do it inside of a community and it'll instantly 3 or 5x the results that you would have got, just because, the intent in the group is to solve specific business problems. So, I don't actually recommend you make your entire life about this. It's very scalable, but it's not as direct of a return. Like with, Upwork, you send out 5 applications, you get, one person responding to you. With social media, it's not really the same, I will say. And it takes a while to like get to the point where you see some growth. I'll cover a specific social media platform, YouTube, which is what I'm using, what I've had a lot of success with, in a moment. But for now, yeah, LinkedIn is definitely one of the biggest and one of the best. What does this look like in practice? Usually, and I just scrolled through my LinkedIn for 5 seconds and I found one of these posts. Usually it's something like this. So this smart fellow over here, Thomas, is posting some giant content creation bundle where he basically walks everybody through how to do things like make reels with AI, do keyword research using an SEO blog generator, create a faceless YouTube channel, automate X and Twitter posts, generate ebooks, transform content. Then you know what he's saying? He's like, hey, I'm going to give this stuff away for free. All you need to do is just comment, create. Okay. So what did he end up getting here? He got like 298 comments on here. And then he basically independently and individually DMs everybody back this lead magnet. In exchange, he gets them following him, which means that they're more likely to boost his post later on. If you repost it, then you're more likely to get a response from him. It's like a positive flywheel feedback loop. Okay. So this sort of lead magnet stuff works really well. Similarly, I'm doing a strategy like that right now for my own Instagram here. That I managed to scale to 122,000 followers with. And that's very similar to what Tom was doing a moment ago on LinkedIn. It's just instead of doing it textually, I just do it visually. I showcase like a platform. Let me just make sure this audio is not on. I showcase a platform like Cursor, Lovable, or Bolt. I then run through, how to do it. And then I say, hey, do you want this AI code editor? Just comment coding, and then I'll send it over to you. This gives me their email address, and then I can pitch them on stuff later on. Now, if you're selling AI agency services as opposed to AI information products like I'm kind of doing now, teaching you guys this and then trying to funnel you into my communities and whatnot, obviously your approach is going to be a little bit different, right? Instead of you selling knowledge and stuff like that, maybe you'll be selling particular systems. And then, when you subscribe them to your mail list, you're not going to be targeting people that are in AI and automation. You'll be targeting small business owners that want to implement AI and automation into their processes. But hopefully you guys understand the nuance there. Okay, so yeah, the results improve as your content library grows. And then, as long as your content is results focused. So as we saw that fella back there that was sharing content, these were all things that like business owners had needs that they were suffering from, like content marketing, like podcast transcription, like faceless YouTube videos, right? As long as you combine results with consistency, aka if you just post every single day for a long enough time and make sure your content's good, the algorithm will eventually reward you. And then if you're just good at like the specific platform, you can do pretty well. My only recommendation to you here is I just see way fewer people winning with social media content. When you do win, you tend to win really big. But if you're a beginner, rather than like go to the casino and try and like, play the blackjack or whatever, it's probably better for you to like start with penny slots, if that makes sense. Start with something where the total payout is smaller, something like Upwork, something like cold email, but then, the results are a little bit more consistent, if that makes sense. Okay, so speaking of social media content, YouTube obviously works extraordinarily well. We had a fella here do a 30-day content challenge, then land his first client directly from YouTube for $3,000, and he shares a Stripe screenshot. There are a lot of people that are making money with YouTube right now. What this looks like in practice, this is actually one of my coaching and consulting clients, one of the coolest guys that I know, who now works with N8N, believe it or not. And he managed to leverage his channel in order to do that, as well as obviously make a ton of agency money. But basically what you do is you just do things like this. Hey, here's a tutorial, Ultimate AI Agent Setup Guide, using MCP and Appify. Hey, here is how to scrape 50,000 leads and generate personalized icebreakers. Hey, here's how to automate your N8N workflow. Okay. You make long form videos similar to how I make them, similar to how Dylan makes them, and similar to how a bunch of other people make them. And then what you do is in the description, you add a link. And then in the description link, you say something like, hey, do you want me to build the system out for you within 7 days? Then just fill out this form. On the form, you have a little calendar link. They click the calendar link, they put in their information, and then you get them on a sales call. And because you are warming them up through the YouTube video and you're showing your value and showing your technical experience, usually by the time they make it to the point where you're going to ask them for money, they've already bought in and they're happy to do so. Now, the issue with that's the same issue with social media in general. High long-term ROI, and when it works, it can work extraordinarily well, like we're seeing with me and a few other people, but it does require a significant amount of time invested up front. And in terms of the success pattern, usually the way that I see people do this is they will put a ton of time and energy into it. They'll get minimal returns for maybe the first 3 to 6 months, and then they'll hit what I like to call product. You know how there's like product market fit? This is sort of like product content fit. So instead of PMF, it's like PCF, if that makes sense. So once you hit that, then you tend to scale. And obviously scaling is amazing and growth solves everything, but those first few months can be tricky. So again, my recommendation for you is if you're a beginner, maybe don't focus on something hyper scalable like this. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Focus more on like the outbound approaches where you can make an ROI. You know, it might just be a little bit harder initially because you actually have to like jump on sales calls or talk to people cold. But that's more of like a theoretical hard. That's not necessarily like actually hard in practice. If you think about the amount of time that you'll spend making content in your room alone, obviously it's easier because you're in your room alone and you're not talking to anybody. But it's probably not going to deliver results as quickly as if you just like put yourself out there consistently through cold email, which would be a lot more like theoretically hard and be like emotionally devastating and stuff when they say no straight to your face. You'd probably get results a lot faster though. So I guess that takes me to another point, which is that like comfort is at odds with speed. So if you want to go really fast, you're going to have to sacrifice your comfort in order to do so. Okay, and then yeah, the best performers focus on problem-solving tutorials, specific technical solutions. Next up, I'll cover social media DMs. If you guys think about it, before I was covering basically how to do growth on social media, how to pitch yourself as an expert and then build like an inbound funnel. This is sort of like an outbound funnel, okay? So this person over here started cold DMing, and within, I think, a day or two, they got 88 requests for more information on their posts, which they've immediately converted into a bunch of booked calls for their 2.4K offer. Cold DMs, just for people that don't know, are legitimately where you go on a platform like LinkedIn. If I move over to this messaging tab, then you just shoot a bunch of messages over to people like this. If I were to show you guys a quick example of this, hey, Nick, hope it's not an automated message. I got news for you, Lasse. Sorry. You know, like this person here, Rosie, she's selling some funding for some big company or whatever. And what she does is she pitches people. She says, hey, Nick, love your blank. We want to fund blank. Let's connect to chat partnership. Let me know. Okay. So, you know, obviously this person's selling a particular investing solution, but the idea is the same regardless of whatever you're selling. You DM people cold on social media platforms, usually LinkedIn, usually X, just because they're a little bit more business aligned. And then you pitch them something. Now, the thing to keep in mind when you're doing this is, do you guys see over here how there's like a limited amount of character space? There's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden it kind of cuts off. Okay. Every platform has slightly different DM character limits. So like LinkedIn, I don't know, might have like 30 or something. X might have something else. In order to really crush it with cold outbound DMs, you need to know the platforms that you're sending stuff on like the back of your hand. So you actually have to go through and you have to optimize the hell out of things, probably like Rosie did over here with their message, and know exactly how many characters the person on the other end of the line is going to see before they make a decision whether or not to click your message. It's the exact same way as cold email. It's just because this is on a social media platform, you have a little bit more room to play around with. Because if you think about it, not only do you have like the email subject line and like the teaser and the first few lines of your actual email body, you also have like your profile picture, you have your headline, you have the post that you've made, you have other comments, you have the number of followers, right? So it's just like that. It's just there are more levers to pull. And because there are more levers to pull, if you really want to crush it, you need to optimize it just a little bit more. Okay. So if you're going to do cold DMs, do them like that person over here. Do something like LinkedIn or X. Send a bunch of cold DMs and try and book using various platform specific features like, you know, your social proof, the first 30 characters of the message, and so on and so forth. And one thing that's really doing well on LinkedIn is voice and audio messages. And I'm just talking LinkedIn specifically here. I don't believe other platforms, at least as of the time of this recording, have the ability to do this at scale. But there are actually a couple of cold outbound platforms like Le Growth Machine, which slots directly into like an automated voice message flow where you can like pre-record a voice message and then actually like have AI customize the name or whatever. So there's a lot of cool things that you can do there. But yeah, cold outbound DMs work really, really well, especially when you combine them with something like voice or like a Loom video or something that's a little bit more personalized. Okay. And then there are really like hundreds of other approaches that you could do here. One in particular that I found interesting was somebody that closed money via WhatsApp outreach. So they closed a deal with a real estate company in Dubai, simply doing WhatsApp outreach. They sent 15, they received 3 positive replies, and then they just closed for $1,900. Now, you know, WhatsApp outreach here is bundled under a giant umbrella of a bunch of different things that you could do. You could do the same thing on Telegram. I'm sure you could do the same thing across a variety of these messaging apps and so on. So I'm not going to cover this any more than I already have, but I just want you guys to know that like I'm sitting here talking about these 3 very popular platforms like Upwork and cold email and communities, and then, you know, a bunch of other ones, social media, YouTube, Instagram, cold DMs, whatnot. The more popular one of these are, necessarily the less effective your approaches become as you get more people that are doing the same approach, right? So tactically, you have a temporary window of time before the approach stops working. Well, there are a variety of really cool, nifty approaches that people in Maker School, Make Money with Make, and the wider internet have uncovered that people aren't even talking about yet that are printing money right now. And stuff like WhatsApp direct outreach is one of them, okay? The last and probably the most important thing I'm going to talk about is referrals and warm networks. So the reason why I'm bringing this up at the end is because I just want to make my videos as palatable for beginners as humanly possible. But I know that a lot of people that start an AI and automation agency have actually run businesses before, especially businesses in adjacent niches. Like a lot of people that come to AI and automation have social media marketing businesses or content marketing businesses or whatever. And so to be honest, the straightest line path to you making money with your AI and automation agency is just get your book of business, all of the clients you've ever worked with, all of your current clients or whatever, and then customize a pitch to them where you think that you could use AI and automation to add value to their bottom line. These are people that have already worked with you. They're people that already trust your character. They're people that have already spent money with you. So this is the warmest audience you have. And to be honest, if you're coming into this with some pre-existing experience, definitely just pitch them first. The crazy thing is most people overlook them, but you shouldn't. It's the highest conversion rate by far. Okay, you can get people from past clients, personal connections, strategic partnerships, and then, you can't just wait around and, expect you to be able to sell these people. You actually do have to take an active role in pitching this cool new service that you might have just whipped up, this AI automation service, to your pre-existing book of clients. But the pitch doesn't have to be super hard. You just send them a little message and say, hey, XYZ, I love what we're doing with this current project. While I was going over your business, I thought that I might be able to make you a little bit more money using an AI tool. I'm curious if you've heard of X, Y, and Z, and if not, if you'd like me to show you what that might look like. The pitches don't really have to be more complex than that, and obviously that's not perfect for everybody, so take what I just said and then mold it to your particular situation. But yeah, if you just approach people that you've already worked with that already trust you, you can get results like this. This fella here was in a meeting with a prospect via his warm network, and he said, do you know that I am happy to pay you to do stuff, right? This fellow over here signed a client for $5,000. Okay, this was a person that was in their network already and a friend of mine who's a business owner. If you want to get up and running with any sort of client reactivation super quickly, you can do the Hormozy approach. I don't actually know if Hormozy is the one that popularized this approach, but instead of asking people in your warm network immediately, hey, do you want to buy my product? What you do is you say, hey, do you know anybody that might be interested in X, Y, and Z product? The value there is if they are interested themselves, they'll tell you. If they're not interested themselves, but they know somebody, then they'll tell you them. And if they're not interested and they don't know anybody, then they'll just say, no, I'm sorry. You still get to maintain the relationship in all those situations. All right, I'm going to leave it at that. Hopefully you guys see what is really working today in AI and automation. If you guys like this sort of stuff and you want to take one of these approaches to build your own AI and automation business and then get personalized coaching, feedback, videos, and Q&A from me and 2,400 other people, then definitely check out Maker School. It's the simplest 0 to 1 daily accountability roadmap for getting up and running with this business model currently on the internet. If you don't get your first customer within 90 days, I give you a full refund. Otherwise, if you guys could do me a big solid comment, subscribe, do all that fun stuff that bumps me up to the top of the algo. I'll catch you on the next video. Thanks.